Okay, we're back with Clementine, chapter 7. Does it look like she likes what her mom is serving there? I knew Friday was going to be a bad day right from the beginning because there were clear parts in my eggs. I can't eat eggs if they have clear parts, I reminded my mother. Eat around them, she said. Just eat the yellow parts and the white parts. But I couldn't because the clear parts had touched all the yellow parts and the white parts, so I had toast. Have you got all your stuff? My dad asked as I was leaving. Of course, I said, right in my backpack. But when I went to show him my backpack, when I went to show him my homework, 3 sentences about the planet Saturn, which I had decorated with pictures of some squirrels I'd seen in the park, it wasn't there. Better go check the black hole, he said. I gave my dad a "that's not funny" look, but I went back into my room to check. The black hole is what my dad calls the place under my bed. He says things mysteriously disappear there. I do not think fathers should be comedians. My homework paper was not under my bed, and the rest of the day got worse. On the bus, Margaret walked right past our usual seat and sat down next to Amanda Lee, even though all Amanda Lee can talk about is going to the mall, which is boring. Plus, anyone with a name as beautiful as Amanda Lee has probably made it up. Then, as soon as I got to school, my teacher said, the following students are excused from recess so they can catch up on their journal writing. And I was one of the following students. 3 times during journal writing, the teacher said, Clementine, you need to pay attention. And every time he said it, I was paying attention. I was paying attention out the window where the 4th graders were playing pickle in the middle. Whenever the ball came anywhere near Margaret and Amanda Lee, they grabbed each other and shrieked like they were being murdered, which everyone knows means we're best friends. When my teacher moved my seat away from the window, I was GLAD, glad. And I wrote all over my journal page, I don't care, so hard that my pencil broke. I think she might care. When I got home from school, I was planning on going straight to my room to draw a picture of me with a new best friend, but my dad was putting on his raincoat and it was not raining out. Fighting pigeons is not for the weak-hearted, he said. It takes superhuman courage and resourcefulness and cleverness. When my dad talks like this, it means he has a new idea. You have another battle plan? I asked. Yep, he answered, and it's a doozy. I'll probably be promoted to general for this one. You already are the general, remember? Oh, right. I'm so modest, I sometimes forget. Well, I bet I'll get the Medal of Honor. Dad, I might even be knighted for this one. Dad, I said. Sometimes my dad needs help staying serious. So what is the new battle plan? My dad looked around like he thought there might be spies sneaking up on us, and then he bent over and whispered in my ear, psychological warfare. This sounded like a good one, so I followed him out and sat on the steps to watch. I could do that drawing later. First, my dad hosed off the sidewalk and sprayed the pigeons until they flew away. All the time he was muttering things like, oh, they're crafty, all right, but I'm craftier. And it's a little known fact that pigeons were the 8th deadly plague to visit Egypt. And then he pulled a brown plastic owl from a bag. He got on a ladder, climbed up, and put the owl right on top of the lion's head over the lobby door. I asked him what that was for. The pigeons will take one look at the owl and then they'll head for the hills. Well, for another building. Pigeons are deathly afraid of owls. Yep, I'll probably be knighted. It's plastic, I reminded him. But the pigeons don't know that. That's the brilliance of my plan. I didn't see what was so brilliant. I didn't see how a little plastic owl was going to frighten off a flock of pigeons who fought over who would get to sit on the head of a roaring lion. And while we stood there, Dad admiring his brilliant battle plan and me worrying about it, the pigeons, came back. They settled on their regular perches all over the front of our building, except for a few who decided to sit on the owl's head. What my dad needed was something real. Polka dotty would have scared them off. Dad put the ladder and his raincoat away and came over and sat beside me. You still miss her, don't you, sport? I nodded. I miss seeing her when I get home from school. I miss patting her where her fur was so soft under her neck. I miss hearing her purr when I fall asleep. I even miss the smell of her cat food. That's a lot of missing, my dad said. Have you ever felt like that about someone or something? And she would have scared off those pigeons, wouldn't she? Absolutely. That was one terrifying cat. Dad, she would have been terrifying 2 pigeons, I said. And then I had one of the most astounding ideas of my whole career. I jumped up and gave my dad a kiss right where his beard stops being crunchy. And then I ran back into the apartment, went to my bedroom, and reached under the mattress where I kept my favorite picture of Polka. Then I ran to the copy shop at the corner. Can you make this bigger? I asked. How big do you want it? The clerk asked back. I took out my wallet and laid all my birthday money on the counter. How big can you make it for this much? The clerk counted my money and thought for a minute, I can make that cat the size of a German Shepherd for that much money. Perfect, I said. And then he took the money and the picture of Polka and told me to come back the next day at 4. I ran home and let myself in the apartment, and my mom and dad were in the kitchen. One left, my dad said. One's all we need, said my mom. Do you think we should do it? I think so, my dad answered. I think it's time. Okay, I'll call tomorrow, my mom said. One's all we need? I slammed the door behind me so they would know I was there. If they were talking about getting rid of me so they'd only have one kid, the easy one, I wanted them to S-T-O-P, stop. Not that I was worried. They probably weren't even talking about me anyway. Shh, my dad said, she's home. Okay, fine, I was worried. Here's the picture for chapter 8. Here is a secret good thing. Sometimes I like journal writing at school because I can remind myself of things I might forget when I'm grown up. Like I plan to smoke cigars and I do not plan to get married. Cigars, yes. Husband, no. What if I forget these things? One more thing to remember when I'm old, if I ever do get married, which I will not, I will only have one kid. The first one, she's plenty good enough, even if she's the hard one. Nope, no need for another kid, even if he's the easy one. Although thinking about my brother and thinking about my journal gave me an astonishing idea on Saturday. Last week, Turnip had to get a shot at the doctor's, and he was so mad about it that my parents let him rent a video and eat gummy worms, even though they are usually the Sesame Street and carrot sticks kind of parents. So I pretended I had to write my journal, even though I didn't because it was the weekend. And I pretended I was mad about it so my parents would feel sorry for me too. And as soon as they came into the room, I scrunched my eyebrows down like arrows and I stuck my bottom teeth out as far as they would go. Here is a picture of that. Can you make that face? If my teeth were pointier, I would have looked fierce like our stone lions. Still, see how mad I looked? But guess what my parents did? Nothing, because they are not so good at paying attention. Excuse me, I said, I am very mad about this journal. May I please have some gummy worms and a video? They stared at me like I had spoken in the secret language Margaret and I used, which was I was almost sure I had not. You let Zucchini have gummy worms and a video when he was mad about his shot, I reminded them. First of all, my mother said, your brother's name isn't Zucchini. Second of all, he's 3 years old. And third of all, my father said, considering all the trouble you got into this week, I don't think it's quite the time for special treats, do you? Okay, fine, I said, but it wasn't. In the afternoon, my mom had to go to her yoga class and my brother had to go to his Saturday play group. And my dad was around, but he was up on the second floor taking care of a plumbing issue. Usually on Saturday afternoons, Margaret and I play together, but now Margaret was not my friend anymore. So I had nothing to do, not even eat gummy worms and watch a video for 3 whole hours until I could go back to get the big polka picture. Then I realized I didn't exactly know where I should put the picture once I got it. What I needed was one of the top windows right in the middle of the building where it would scare off the pigeons. Margaret's apartment was on the 5th floor, but I didn't think Margaret's mother was about to let a common criminal use her window. The man who lives on the 6th floor smells like mothballs, so I never visit him. The people who live on the 7th floor were away on vacation while their apartment got painted, which reminded me I flew up to the 7th floor to see if the painters wanted help yet. Nobody answered the apartment door when I knocked, but the painters' stilts and all their brushes and paint cans were out in the hall. The hall hadn't been painted yet, which gave me a great idea. I could do it for them. Oh. Then when they got back on Monday, they'd smack their foreheads and make, wow, I must be dreaming faces. And they'd wonder who had done such a great thing until I went up to them and told them, oh, it was just me. Oh no, I'm having a text-to-text connection because there's a Curious George book where he goes in and paints. It doesn't work out all the way great. I was smiling about all of this while I strapped the stilts onto my legs, but when I tried to stand up, I fell right over. And I tried again, and I fell right over again 29 times, which was plenty, believe me, so I was all done being there. Whew. On the way down, the elevator stopped at the 5th floor, and I got a little bit excited when Margaret got in and smiled at me. But 1 second later, that Amanda Lee got in too. Hi, Clementine. We're going to the mall, Margaret said. I turned around and pretended to be very busy pushing all the buttons until they got off. And then I went to my room and I drew a picture of me at the mall with a lot of new best friends. And finally, it was time to go to the coffee shop. And I ran all the way, even though I probably had 2 broken legs from all that falling. And when the clerk brought out the picture of Polka Dottie, my heart hurt so much I couldn't breathe for a minute. She looked so beautiful that big, and I missed her so much. I quick sucked in some air so I wouldn't faint. And then I said, thank you. And I took Polka home, being careful not to fold her because she would have hated that. When I got to my building, I looked up through all the pigeons. At the very top of the building was old Mrs. Jacoby's apartment. I tucked the big picture of Polka under my arm, took the elevator to the 8th floor, and knocked on Mrs. Jacoby's door. Can I put this in your window? I asked, the one in the middle of your living room. Mrs. Jacoby said, why, certainly, dearie, without even asking why. And suddenly she didn't look so old or so boring. Okay, we will continue that chapter next time. What's going to